Hey guys, how's it going? Jody is taking a course right now and she's a little over zoomed. So she so she said she couldn't do it tonight. She's having physical Zoom related issues from staring at the screen uh in addition to working. And then we didn't all come in at the same time last week, but Rachel decided not to continue in the group. So she didn't, she implied that that might not be ongoing, that she may come back, but that right in this moment she was looking for something else. And so I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that because I was we were kind of different start points yesterday. And Laura is not here for 2 months, for April and for May. But I wanted to check in first with what happened as a result of your homework from last week's session, and or anything that came up for you around the self-esteem quiz that we did and the conversation that we had. And Nancy was started to tell me what was going on with her, but I asked her to wait so that you guys could also hear and benefit from her insights. So Nancy, can you share what you were going to share?
Yeah, well, it's been me, I'm really I don't know if it's with everybody, but when I go and work really deep, it's like at a cellular level. So if I go work inside really deep, I'm not able to do anything else because I'm shaking inside it, and it's really powerful. So that's what happened. I had like 2 revelations on Saturday at different times. Some stuff that I had buried inside myself because it was like too painful. And it was around being where I decided, because of the experiment, the experience, I was like, one of them was at 8 years old. Around Easter, my father gave us, me and my brother, little chickens, live chickens. But it was in a big box and he didn't want us to touch it. And as like I was 8 years old, so as soon as my father went out the door, I took the chicken in my hand, and the chicken moved and fell and broke a leg. So I panicked and I went to get my father to bring the chicken at the vet. But my father was really upset because I didn't listen to him. So he forced me to kill the chicken with a big rock. He put the chicken in an empty garbage can, and I was crying and I didn't want to do it. And he forced me to kill the chicken. So at that moment, when I felt inside, I had killed something that I love. So I felt like I'm not worth living. I'm not worth happiness. I'm not worth joy. I'm not worthy of anything, of success, or of. I cut myself at that moment. And and the other one, I don't know where it is, but as I had, oh yeah.
Wait, Nancy, before you go on, can we talk about this one a little bit?
Yeah.
Before you talk about the other one. So
yeah. So me, it's sure that on one side, it made me live so much anger. It's a good thing he's dead. I think I would have killed him. I really, you don't do that to a kid, force a kid to kill something. And so But I realized that maybe another kid would not have thought of it like that, but I turned it against myself. Like, it's me who did that choice.
Yeah.
But I still feel is kind of responsible for it because he did something real bad. He did something real bad. So that part is not forgiven.
What part is not forgiven?
About him making me
Oh,
do
yeah.
that,
Okay. But
making it
how do you
that
feel toward yourself and that and what happened to your self-worth in that moment? How do you interpret that now?
well, the two things happened the same day. And the next day on Sunday morning, I got up and was with my little book ready to journal. And as I told you, that's why I had to stop, because it was my boyfriend's weekend off. So he was always around, and he cannot stand to see me cry. He's a fixer, right? He's a man, he wants to fix everything.
Mhm.
So I wasn't in the right position to continue my work.
Yeah.
Except I had like a deep feeling that came up in me of deep love. And as if I was hearing, it's funny, it's gonna sound weird. As if God was talking to me, telling me, you're during the pandemic, and instead of complaining of your life, you're working on yourself and you're trying to get better, and you are willing and you do the work to make yourself an even better person, you know? And it was like, I couldn't be more proud of you, even if I wanted to. And I really felt love toward myself because of that. So I did some cleaning like that, like 20 years ago, that deep. And I had that feeling too. And after, I never had to relive the stuff that I got rid of. Okay. In those days. So that part, I think it's done, because but it's not complete, but that part, like, that I decided I wasn't worth it there.
Yeah.
Okay. That part with my father, with that experience, I think it's done. But I had another one with my mom, and I probably have some more deep, because as I told you, I felt that there was a part of me that was still crying inside, but I couldn't do it yet. But that part with the chicken, I think that's done, except the forgiving my father for doing it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go and dig into this one. But I really felt deep love. Listen, I'm always showing that picture, but I'm deeply in love with that kid.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it makes sense to me that you took responsibility for it, because as a kid, that's how we gain any measure of power or control, in a situation, is to be responsible. If you're responsible for it, then you have some sort of power or control. But then the flip side of that is that you took the responsibility for the chick, and for that, for what happened, and held that against yourself for all these years. But I think that it's also in addition to having compassion for a child being put in that position, for a child being made to do that, there's also, in my mind, the strength to take responsibility for that too. You know, that's an incredibly powerful act of strength. You know, it worked against you, but when you look at it from an evaluation of this being, it's an incredibly strong thing, an incredibly powerful act to be able to say, I'm taking this on. I'm taking, because I need to have some control and power and measure of something in this circumstance. To be able to take that on, you know, it is a sign of incredible strength, you know.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see it that way, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, when we make those kind of choices, we are trying to support ourselves in the moment, and then there are long-term consequences. But it's still an act of strength, and to be able to even, you know, and to put it away, you know, because you put it away in an effort to save yourself from it, you know. And so, like, you're like, why I've done all this work, why do I still feel this way? So again, it ends up working against you. But the impulse of that 8-year-old is, let's put this away so it doesn't have to hurt us. You know, like the strength and the power to say, I'm responsible and I'm going to put it away. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, because I remember I was wondering when it began, but I remember like every Christmas I would get my presents and I would not feel joy. And I couldn't put, I would try to act joyful, but it, like, my mother would be upset at me because you're never happy. And at the same time, they would never give me what I asked. So if I asked for crayons, I would have wax crayons, and I wanted wooden crayons. And if I asked for an organ, I had a piano, but never an, you know, it was always like kind of, but never just it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, but I couldn't feel joy, and I never knew where it came from. And that was with the worthiness, but the joy, cutting myself from joy was there.
Yeah.
Was there.
Yeah.
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 So it's a good thing it's done.
Yeah. 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 And you know, that also makes a lot of sense, you know, that kind of an experience would have that kind of an impact. And especially if you put it away where you couldn't access the information to you know, as an older person, have that compassion and see it. It makes sense that it would be holding you back from self-worth, even though you've gone so far away from that situation and from all of those circumstances, but that it was so powerful and locked away.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one?
The other one, I think it's about all the same range of age, 7 or 8, 7 or maybe 7. My mother is the 7th of 12 girls. There was no boys. And one of her sisters got married with the most beautiful man in the world, and his name was Ray, Uncle Ray, but they couldn't have kids. And Uncle Ray was really good with kids. He loved kids, and he wished he had some. And they bought a house like 3 doors down where we were living. And on Saturday morning, there was a kind of ritual. I would go and watch cartoons with him. He would still be in his pajamas, and my Aunt Lorna would cook us breakfast. and bring it to us, and you know, he wasn't even sitting on the chair, he was sitting down on the floor, and it was kind of a picnic, a breakfast picnic, and it was always really nice to me. And when I was going there, I felt safe. So I knew that once a week I would have 2-3 hours safe. You know, he never did anything wrong. It was only good to me. So I only have real good memories with him. And when I turned, I'd say 7 or 8, he bought me a bottle of Chanel No. 5, you know, and I really love that smell. And to this day, I really love that smell. And I was real happy to bring it home and show it to my mother. When I showed it to my mother, she threw a fit. I never got to the bottom of why she did. But she said, it's not the kind of gift you give to a kid. You give that to an adult, and it's me that should have gotten that bottle of perfume. So I didn't know if she had an affair with him, or I don't, you know, I don't know why she got so angry about that. And she started hating him so much that they moved. They didn't stay there. And until the day Uncle Ray died, she would do mean stuff. And she, like, Auntie Lorna and him got a divorce, and she there was nothing she wouldn't say about him, and she was really mean. And I never could understand why. But there was something about, like, me getting the perfume, I wasn't worthy of it. She was worthy of it. So it was always that kind of energy. I never could feel safe. I never knew what the reaction of people, adults, my parents, I never know, but I always felt like I was scared all the time. That I wasn't safe. And whatever I do, it was never good enough, and I wasn't worthy of anything. Excuse me. So that was another thing that came up. That when that came, like, it was, if she took love away from me, I'm saying it and I'm becoming sensitive, but it was like my uncle was my great love. It was not only like it was like the love of my life. It was a father figure, because I could go to him and talk about anything. And when he gave me that bottle of perfume, he told me, I know what you're living at home is not easy, sweetheart. And I'm giving you this because I want you to remember that for me, you are worth the world. You are worthy of the world. And I bring that back at home, and I'm not worthy anymore. But him, he was like giving me that part of me. And after, it was taken away from me. So that's it.
And did you repress that memory also? Or had you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you were you no longer permitted to go over there after?
I never saw him again.
Never again.
I saw him when I was 30 years old, 2 years before he died. And we went for a cup of coffee, and like, he was with another woman, and his life was different, and we talked, and it was okay. But like, that was it. I saw him for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and that was it. Yeah. So he had to go somewhere, and he was happy to see me, but like, I was 30 years old. It wasn't the same thing anymore.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's a lot. And I know from your previous sharing that, that those are just a couple of things in many, many instances. Did you get an opportunity to try to prove whether or not you're a narcissist?
Um, yeah, I did the list,
Yeah,
and I really realized that even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to.
where everyone else already knew that, but yeah,
Yeah, well, but I needed to do the work.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I really realized that I found out some other people, because I knew different kind of narcissism, but the covert one, I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
Oh, that was a great discovery, because I found out that some people I had around me, that was the problem. So that was a good tool for me to do that exercise. But even though I would want to be a narcissist, I wouldn't be able to. So that's cleared up. So thanks a lot for that too.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna do some more work on self-worth tonight, but I think that uncovering these things is really significant and important because one of the things is, and I've been thinking about this a lot since our last two meetings, I think that the core issue is the desire to change your value in your own heart. And when you want to, it's not difficult. But when you don't want to, it's impossible. And it's these types of things that are preventing us from shifting. It's that we, at some core level, we don't want to. And like for your case here, you didn't know why you didn't want to, because you didn't know that there was that part of you that was still holding you responsible for killing that chick. And,
Mhm.
and so I think that being able to figure out what's the barrier to wanting to, because once you want to, it's not that hard, because you can clearly see that you have value, and I would say, everyone in this group is, I mean, and I would say it about anybody, but like extremely, like you said, like, cares, spending time on themselves, spending time on other people, like extremely valuable people, everybody in this group. But if you don't want to see that about yourself, you won't, you know, and you might think, oh yes, I do want to, but then really way down there, this is that, you have that barrier. And for a lot of people, they're unconscious memories, they're things that you stored, put away for whatever reason, or a series of things that you put away for whatever reason. And so in your mind, you think, oh, I want to have self-worth, I want to have high self-esteem. But you've got your 8-year-old actually standing on the throat of self-esteem saying no, no, and like feeling like they did the right thing, and they know how to take care of things from their 8-year-old perspective. Like, I know how to handle it, and I handled it, and now you're trying to unhandle it. And so I think it's that, like, being able to recognize where we really don't want to shift and why we really don't want to shift, and then being able to navigate that conversation with that 8-year-old and letting her off the hook of being responsible, because it's not so much like the act that is unforgivable, it's the responsibility that she doesn't want to relinquish. She took care of it, she took care of you, she did what she had to do, and she put it away, and she handled it, and now you're fucking around in there. And so that's the negotiation that has to happen is, thank you, you did take care of me, you did do what you had to do, and I'm here because you did what you had to do. And now you don't have to do it anymore.
I did that on Sunday. When I had that talk, I used those words exactly. I said, thank you, but I wasn't talking to the 8-year-old. I was talking like, I didn't know I could address it directly to her, but it was like my subconscious.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for taking care of it, you know, but you don't need to take care of it because I'm home. I'm the mom now, and I'm going to protect every part of myself.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna hurt anymore. I'm the warrior. I'm strong, you know. I'm doing it now, me as an adult.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But I had that talk.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's critical to wanting to shift your opinion of yourself. Do you feel any shift in your self-evaluation of your worth?
Yeah, I feel there's something that I need to address again. I feel there's a spot.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do this week. That's for sure. It's gonna be done. Because I really do want my self-worth. And I'm willing and able and doing the work that goes with it.
Yeah.
I definitely feel there's a shift. I feel it's not all done, but a big shift as it turned around. And I didn't feel it on Saturday, but on Sunday morning, I wrote the what I was thinking, and I journaled it and everything. Yeah.
I would say too, you may want to, after you go after whatever this other piece is, take the self-esteem evaluation again and see if your responsiveness
is good.
Changed.
Yeah. I will. Okay, good idea.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for listening.
Of course.
And thank you for the pictures of you sailing, parasailing with the kids. Oh, I love that. Oh.
Does anybody have anything they want to share with Nancy?
Missy, you're in the house.
Hey, I'm here.
Truck. What?
Nancy, oh my goodness, you and I have way more in common than you can even imagine. I can sympathize with that situation with the chick very much so.
Oh, yeah.
So it's awesome to see that. And I also really want to tell you that you don't look anywhere near 60 years old. When I see, like, my initial impression of you, as far as if you were to ask me how old you were, and still you appear to me 30 years old with the energy that you bring into the room and your smile, and yeah, you have a very young energy. So I just wanted you to know that every time you say that you're 60, I always catch myself being, oh, no way. That's right. She did mention that, but you just don't appear at all. So just looking at you now, like, I don't know what 60 is supposed to look like. And I hope that I'm 60.
I don't either, but when I see a picture of people my age, I said, what? I started like when I was 30. And going on my 40, I started saying, is that what 40 is supposed to look like? you know, even that, it was like, whoa. So I don't know. I'm just me.
I would guess that you were younger than me. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you.
How old are you?
I am I'm gonna be 48 this year.
Well, you don't do it either. baby face. We all have baby faces here.
There we go. So thank you for sharing, and just know that you're not alone. And one of these days we can swap guilt war stories. So I wasn't here last week, and I was in the middle of catching up with watching last week's when I got the message from Kelly saying, "Hey, are you coming on?" So this week has been it's been a crazy busy week for me, but I can share what it sounds like the homework was identifying time.
You had the homework from individual, so you did the
Right.
same exercise. Yeah, so it was for you it would be the like, you know, making a case for yourself as if you were not yourself, as if it was
Well, I wanted to share, you know, I had what was holding me back from wanting to have good self-esteem was also from when I was very young. I should preface it all by saying I realized that I idolized my father, and he was almost superhuman to me, and I loved the fact that I was his daughter, and he just has this sense of humor that can find the humor in any situation, and a lot of it's sarcastic. And so when my brothers had convinced me that I was adopted and not wanted by my parents, I went looking for, I think I was 5 or 6. I went looking for my dad to say no, that I wasn't adopted. And instead what he said was, well, you are the only one with blonde hair. And so that confirms, for some reason in my mind, that confirmed that I wasn't wanted, that I was adopted, that I'm a burden on everybody, and I'll never fit in. And it was told to me by this guy that I idolized. So for that stuff to be wrong in my 5-year-old mind, I would be saying that he was wrong, and that would be somehow in my mind sacrilegious. Like, that's not even a possibility, you know. And so the rest of my life I just looked for evidence that what he said was right, and sometimes I'd put myself in situations where that would absolutely be the case. You know, I put myself, like, I put myself in very male dominated worlds, and then be like, see, I don't fit in. I just don't fit in anywhere, you know. And that's not to say that women can't live and thrive in male dominated worlds. And I see now that I'm like, oh, okay, that was me gathering evidence for this man to be right in a statement that he made off the cuff in a sarcastic way. He didn't even say, you don't fit in. You know, all he said was, well, you do have blonde hair. Those are the words that he said, and I made it mean all this other stuff. So
Great, I gotta stop you because you're doing it right now. You were on a roll, and now you're wrong and he's right. You just did it to yourself.
Did I do it again?
Yes, you just said he didn't even mean to say that. I'm the one, I took it and I did X, Y, and Z with it.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
Yeah.
See how like ingrained it is. But you know, it's very freeing for me for that. And I never really got to have that conversation with him. He's now where, I don't know. This is all just stuff happening in my head right now. It's coming out of my mouth. but I think that it would be worth it for me to have a conversation with him around that, and acknowledging it, and the impact that it had on the remainder of my life.
I haven't exercised for that. We can do it tomorrow.
Okay, cool. So anyways, seeing all that has been very, very helpful, because it helped me see, why it is that I wanted. At first, on the surface level, it's like, well, everybody wants good self-esteem. And then it was, yeah, and then I could see like a little, well, I guess I want to feel this certain way. But now it's more of like it feels more like a solid momentum, or a solid kind of foundation of, I can actually see what life would look like when I'm that person, and working towards it. And been doing a lot of, I've been doing a lot of recognizing accomplishments on a daily basis, and discovering things that I like about myself. It was one of the things that one of the exercises I came up with to try to show myself a different side of me, things that I haven't acknowledged before. And in doing so, it's been really awesome. I don't know what to say. It's been really cool to start to give myself credit for things that I'm good at, and actually see them. Whereas before, I would just overlook anything that I was good at, or I would downplay it, or all that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely down for taking the the test again. Just
Yeah.
yes. I haven't yet sat down and made the case though.
Okay.
So I still have a day to do that.
Do that first.
Yeah.
And we'll do this, Dad. We'll do this exercise. We'll actually do it with your mom and your dad.
Okay.
And then you can take it again and see.
Yeah, my mom is a challenge, just to share with everybody. So my mom lives with me, and there was a moment last week where I was trying to discover some of my self-esteem stuff, like where did that stuff come from? And a lot of it had to do with how I look. I had some just things about how I look that I don't like, right? And I'm trying to figure out where that came from. And I went home and had to come back out to Mississippi, is where we're working right now. And I put my hair in little braids, and I put a bandana on. And I was heading out the door, and my mom basically said to me, "Oh, why do you have your hair like that? You're not riding your motorcycle," which is how I would wear it if I was riding. And I said, "No, I'm not riding. I'm taking the car." But I wanted to look cute for my husband, and because I knew I was going to see him. And she's like, "Well, you really don't look cute." And in that moment, I was able to see, like, oh, that might be where I get some of this. Like, there it is. And then I did something that I wouldn't normally do. So in the past, I would be like, "Oh, do you think so? Do you, and go and look." And then I probably would have landed on, well, she's probably right. This looks ridiculous, whatever. And instead I turned to her and I said, "Well, my husband's a biker, and this is cute in biker world. So I'm just going to go ahead and go." And I didn't. And I was able to laugh it off. Like, I didn't own it. I didn't take it on. Right. And then what was really interesting about that was later on, that was last Thursday. So Kelly and I had our one-on-one, and I was checking the lighting to make sure the Zoom would work on my phone. And my phone has this I still haven't figured out how it is, but it has a setting that if you smile and it'll take a picture. I apparently was smiling while I was trying to adjust the lighting for our meeting, and it took a picture, and I was like, hey, that looks actually pretty good. And so I put it on my profile as my profile picture, and I got all of these likes and all of these comments on how cute I looked and stuff like that. It was not a posed picture or anything like that. And even my mom went on there and said, oh, I love this picture of you. So anyways, there you go. So and I've been a lot more aware. So I know that my mom has a very negative energy, and I love her, and I don't have to take on her energy, but at least I'm seeing it now, whereas before I wasn't seeing it quite as much. I mean, I've always been a little bit aware of it, but when it comes to my self-esteem, I had thought that I was keeping it on, like, on her side, and I see that I see that I don't always. So not to say that she's right and I'm wrong. I'm just saying that it's helpful to see, you know, taking too much to taking some things too much to heart. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything you want to share with Missy?
Well, Missy, it was my daughter that used to do that to me. Every time I would go out the house, she would say, you're not going outside dressed like that. All the time, all the time. So I'd always have to say, well, I like myself the way I look. So yeah, I'm going outside like that. But it reminded me of that because I had forgotten about that when you talked about your mothers.
Well, and I think everyone rated themselves fairly low in that category. And I think that often is related to, and as you've talked about that with your mom too, I think that that self-image of like being attractive or not being attractive gets, laid more, I think, by the feedback that we get from our caretakers and other important people in our lives than from ourselves, because kids are so oblivious, and especially when they're young, they're not focused on their attractiveness, and so the idea of not being attractive is usually something that is imposed, that someone else is evaluating your looks from what, and usually not even necessarily from an objective standard, but from whatever their perspective is, and sometimes there are people who are, average looking, but they were given so much positive feedback about their looks, they think they're, like a supermodel, and then you have people where their parents were not kind to them regarding their looks, and then they don't see, that they are beautiful. So it's interesting, that impact. Hey, Leah, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what to say. I have so many thoughts in my head now after all hearing everyone else. Yeah, like I am feeling a little bit better in terms of my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I started taking borage oil.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't really know, like I realized, like, I haven't had any like major reawakenings, like like Nancy or like anything that was like so like pivotal, but I did have like the other morning I woke up and I realized like I've been yeah, like separated from my husband, like from my ex for almost 3 years now.
Mhm.
And that was, yeah, a very painful and toxic, it was just a horrible time of my life. Um, and I pretty much like took care of him for like a decade.
Mhm.
Just, and I was always living like on the edge of like maybe this will help his mental health improve. So I
Mhm.
lived always on like yeah, just like, oh, maybe this will change everything. Like this counselor will change everything and everything will be better now. So it was
Yeah.
always just like, living on this like kind of tiny thread of hope,
Yeah.
right? And then one day it just hit me like nothing's gonna ever change.
Mhm.
Like I gotta like throw that hope out in the garbage.
Yeah.
But I tolerate, like, my tolerance level for bullshit is way too high.
Yeah.
I don't, that's where I know my self-worth. That's how I can kind of gauge. I don't know. I feel like that's tied to my self-worth.
Yeah.
My tolerance for bullshit is way too high. And I'm just so like I'm I'm just so used to being unhappy.
Mm.
Like it does not even I barely, like, in order for it to register, I'd have to be like, and that's like, I have to be like super miserable for it to even register.
Mm.
That's my norm, is not being satisfied with life, right? Like I live like, and I just tolerate it.
Yeah.
Um, and so since I've been separated, like I got into another like toxic relationship, of course, because I somehow am attracted to very broken people.
Mm.
And it just hit me the other day, like I'm in this, I didn't even, it was just kind of clear that I'm in the exact same cycle with this new person, where it's like maybe today they'll be different.
And how long has that relationship been going on?
Well, it's complicated, but I've known them for like a year.
Mm.
So I met them like a year ago. And it's almost like the same, but it's an unhealthy attachment. Like I feel like I'm using them. I use that as like a way to, I think, avoid myself too. Cause I'm always so fixated on, okay, like saving someone else. Like I'm gonna be like, they're gonna get better and then everything's gonna be okay. And I'll be like this, I don't know if I'm like, I'll help them. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I avoid, but I use it, then I use it as, I think, an avoidance technique to deal with myself, because I'm always so fixated on that.
Yeah.
Um, and I honestly, I don't know how to focus on myself. Like truly, I'm so used to trying to make sure that someone else is getting that, like, okay,
Yeah.
that um like I put half-assed effort into my, like I will, like I know when I'm not feeling right and I'll put kind of some half-assed effort in, but it's not like I can, it's not dedication, like true commitment to myself.
Yeah.
I'll, when push comes to shove, I'll put everything to the side. And yeah,
Do you see that
so
you see that as a way also to continue to feel the way you feel? Because kind of looking at this, if you really at your core you don't want to feel better about yourself, then all this outward energy allows you to continue, you know, like if you don't focus on yourself and you have these distractions and relationships that are you know, also not benefiting you, then you're not, nothing will ever change. You know, like you're 1 year in now, but if something doesn't change, you'll be talking about the
Well,
decade
no, and like,
of this relationship.
yeah, no, and I've taken, like, it's been a slow, because it's almost an addiction for me.
Mhm.
Like that, I know it, and I can feel it in my body. Like I'm almost, there's a dependence on it.
Is it the
And
relationship?
so like I've kind of
The relationship?
just
or
yeah, well, and just that always
fixing?
like, oh, where are they, where are they at today, how, like,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And because I did it for so, like, it's like I did it for so long where like my well-being was dependent on someone else's, how
Yeah.
they were doing.
Yeah.
And then like at a marriage with 2 kids, it makes a little bit of sense because I was like tied to them, you know, in some degree. But I did, like, you know, at the end of the marriage, I did make a conscious effort to like separate myself from them and
Mhm.
be like, your well-being does not dictate my well-being.
Yeah. So,
But
why,
it's
what's the reason to keep this guy?
none.
None?
None. Like,
So
well,
when
like
are you breaking up
there
with it?
is, like, I do care, like there is, for some reason, I am, there's a tie, like there's like, I care for him.
But is the tie
There's
helpful?
a,
Is it coming from a positive?
no,
Yeah.
no, that's what I, like, it's been confusing for me because, but I think it's just that's what I'm so used to. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm drawn to it partly, like there is some mind, like a little bit of connection, but overall, like the level of drain the drain compared to like the benefit, the drain, it's far more draining.
But you know, the
Like I
value
have,
is you can avoid yourself, which you already said. You already said, I'm using this to avoid dealing with myself. And so that's what the value is. Whatever the connection, that's not it. You're using this relationship to avoid dealing with yourself and to fixate on how someone else is doing, and to then think that impacts how you're doing, when in reality, it's not about, that's not what's impacting how you're doing. You not dealing with yourself is what's impacting how you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I just don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to do with myself. Like, it's like I don't know what else to do, right? Like I've used that as a coping thing for so long.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to do anything else but focus on other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't
And it's
I
scary
don't know what
to focus on yourself, you know, because you said that you stay in your head because the feelings are scary. And then, you have like going all the way back to, as far as you can remember, never being acknowledged or praised for anything. And that whole thing of
yeah.
putting everyone first, being glorified, by your mom. And so it makes perfect sense. Why the hell would you want to deal with all that shit? Like, it seems better, oh, I'll focus on this guy or this other guy, and and help and fix, because then I'm doing something good, versus looking at all this fucking shit over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
I don't want to.
it makes
I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you don't deal with it, then you're going to be 10 years later in the same place you were in when it was unbearable in that relationship.
Well, oh, I fully acknowledge, like, I know this. I'm fully aware of it. And I'm like, there's a part of me that's determined to sit, like, just to be on, like, to sit with this discomfort and be uncomfortable, because I avoid, it's like me trying to avoid feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm determined, like, I'm a bit stubborn, but I'm determined to be uncomfortable for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It is uncomfortable.
But it's extremely uncomfortable. Like, I'm so, I don't know. It's hard to, like, yeah. I felt, like, for my entire marriage, I just felt I was alone, right? Like, I was doing everything on my own, trying to save everyone else. And it just, part of me is just tired of just being, feeling like I'm doing everything by myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm running from, I'm just running from feeling alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being lonely. Because I told it, like, I just, for like my entire marriage, I just accepted that I was alone. And I put a lot of, like, I put a lot of walls up to deal with that. And I used my kids as a form to keep, so I didn't, they were like my protective factor, right? I was extremely helicopterish and almost codependent on my children during my marriage. So that's kind of how I dealt with a decade of feeling extremely alone and kind of emotionally abused, as my kids and I kind of banded together as a, now, like, it's funny because now that I've, been out of the marriage, I've loosened up my my parenting style. I don't feel so, like, if I didn't know where my kids were for like a minute, I would like go into full like panic mode. Now I'm like a lot more yeah, a little bit more free range, if you want to say. Which is good. But yeah, I still just have this persistent, like, it's just like a deep ache that I'm just like, I just feel like I wasted so much time feeling alone in my marriage, and now I just want to not feel like that anymore. And so it's almost like a desperation almost. There's a desperation in me, and then there's that part where I'm running from myself.
Yeah.
So it's,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just those two, like, it's like those two kind of they kind of twine into each other.
Yeah.
It's like
it seems like the aloneness isn't about external things.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I think it's too, because like I made mention, like I kind of felt alone as a kid too, right? Like my parents were quite like they weren't super, like we weren't a lovey-dovey family, just
Yeah.
we were quite emotionally um unhealthy. Um and so I don't know, I think I'm just so desperate for like any kind of like emotional support.
Yeah.
I've never, like I just have never had it.
Yeah.
And I think like maybe that's where some of the unworthiness comes from, is that if I've never had this, maybe I'm just like there's something wrong with me.
Well, I think too that it's possible because of the lack of value placed on emotions and support and connection that you abandoned that in yourself, and that's why you want to be in your head and and the emotions are so scary because that value, in order to survive and fit in your family, and in order to be in alignment with the value system, I think that sense of like aloneness is does go that far back, and that the abandonment is internal, and that going back all the way to like the challenge and stuff, that sense of that your authentic self and that relationship, that's what's disconnected.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%.
And that
But it's frustrating.
Sorry, just that you're not going to find it outside, and even
No,
with, go ahead.
No, and it's just that's frustrating because I've felt like this for so long that it's just foreign. Like I don't even know like what to do, you know?
Did
Like
you do any of the looking at your accomplishments, writing about them?
I haven't started that, but I will.
Well, but I mean, I think also because if you think about all the things that you may have done this past week for other people, and where your attention went, I think that it's relevant because your desire and your fear, your desire to avoid going inside, and your fear of what you're going to find in there is what's keeping you choosing, focusing outward, helping outward, focusing on things like this boyfriend. And that's, and I think that it would be worth the risk to start to go in there from that perspective of just writing about and acknowledging your accomplishments, either starting in the present and moving backwards, or starting in the past and moving forward. Because I don't think that what you're going to find there is bad or scary. And it's a way to get in, to start to look at who you really are, and not these tapes that are playing in your head about who you are, and to start to rebuild that connection with your true self. And I know that it's scary, But I think that by
Mhm.
doing it in this way, by focusing on your accomplishments and by really giving yourself praise for the things that you have done, all of the things that you have done well and good throughout your life is a way to start to enter in a way that won't be as scary or painful.
Mhm.
But you have to kind of push through your own resistance because
I know.
it's like there's a giant brick wall there, to going in
I
it.
know.
And so you have to kind of push through. Do you mind if I text you a couple times in this next week to see where you're at with starting this exercise?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think
because I'm very resistant. Because I've put like there's a massive wall.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that you think that what you're going to find in there is horrible and ugly, and I don't think so. I don't think that's what you're going to find in there.